Okay. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome back to our regular Chaitanya Charitamrita session. So now we are discussing about the Lord's dancing at the Rath Yatra festival. So from quite few sessions, this from 5-6 sessions, this discussion is happening, and devotees have explained what are the ecstatic moods in which Lord Chaitanya goes through during the entire journey of the Rath Yatra, where Lord Jagannath and Lord Chaitanya are reciprocating on one level, and the devotees of the Lord are feeling that ecstatic love by the presence of Lord Chaitanya, and how by the dealings of Pratap Rudra Maharaj, Lord Chaitanya is very happy, and how Pratap Rudra Maharaj sees the ecstatic dancing of Lord Chaitanya, and how he himself feels very fortunate. So all these discussions in detail has been discussed before. So mm, now what's happening is, the idea is like this: when now Lord Chaitanya is Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. He is the means he's the body of Krishna with the mood of Srimati Radharani. And our Jagannath ji is Lord Krishna himself. So the mood of Lord Chaitanya is mood of Radharani and Krishna. So it is a loving exchange between Krishna and Srimati Radharani that happens throughout the when the Rath Ghat is moving from the Sri Mandir to Gundicha Mandir, where the Sri Mandir is the considered as Dwaraka, and Gundicha Mandir is considered as Vrindavan. Now, what is happening is it during otherwise also, not just the Rath Yatra festival, even otherwise, Lord Chaitanya and Swarup Damodar Goswami always have deep discussions of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and especially uh, the mood of Srimati Radharani exhibited towards Krishna, and vice versa. The mood of Sri Krishna towards Radharani are very deep in subject, and such deep ecstatic emotions when they express each other, and when it is there in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, actually none of the devotees can understand exactly its deeper meaning. So when it's only Lord Chaitanya himself and Swarup Damodar Goswami who understands. So sometimes even otherwise, Lord Chaitanya would recite the verses of these kind of conversations between Radha and Krishna, which are very deep and very difficult to actually understand for us. But Swarup Damodar Goswami would clearly understand the mood of Lord Chaitanya, and accordingly, sometimes he used to set the mood, or based on the mood, sometimes he used to recite those verses, because that would create an ecstatic emotions in the heart of Lord Chaitanya. So that kind of deep understanding Swarup Damodar Goswami had with the Supreme Lord Chaitanya. So now during the Rath Yatra festival also, spontaneously Lord Chaitanya recites series of verses that are from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. And here Krishnaraj Goswami gives another like quite 10-15 verses he gives. Those are the verses of Srimati Radharani speaking to Krishna, or Krishna speaking to Srimati Radharani. We will not get into deeper part of it, because in easily what Srila Prabhupada explains, that we will understand as we are reading through. But essentially what is happening is, during the life of Lord Krishna, during when Krishna was performing his earthly pastimes, uh, Krishna had left Vrindavan when he was 11 years, and he moved to Mathura. Since then, the gopis are in separation from Lord Krishna. And it is then after like around 100 years, once there was a Surya Grahana, that is a solar eclipse at the place Kurukshetra. So in Kurukshetra solar eclipse, Lord Krishna had arrived with all his queens, and he was in his crowns, and he had that lot of elephants and all other big chariot, and the queens and soldiers and caravans, like that. He was a majestic look. He was there in Kurukshetra, and the gopis of Vrindavan had also arrived in Kurukshetra. So at that time, the gopis of Vrindavan, headed by Srimati Radharani, what they do is mentally they bring, they request Lord Krishna to come to Vrindavan. They tell that now you are in your crowns, you are in a majestic look. Where are those flower garlands? Where is that vanamala? Where is that ointments from the natural ointments from the stone that was on your face? The peacocks, cows, calves, the trees, the Yamuna, all these we are missing. And here it is too much of sound and too much of crowd. It's all that city look and it's all of majesty. We want you to see in that Vrindavan Krishna form. So please come with us, please come with us. Like that, mentally they pull Krishna from Kurukshetra to Vrindavan. So it is also said this Rath Yatra festival shows that that it is a representation of Krishna going from Kurukshetra to Vrindavan. That is Kurukshetra or Dwaraka is represented by the Shri Mandir and Gundicha is represented by Vrindavan. So now in the Rath Yatra festival, what's happening? Jagannath is moving from Shri Mandir to Gundicha. That is like moving from Kurukshetra to Vrindavan, we can say, or we can say from Dwaraka to Vrindavan. So gopis from their heart, they're pulling Krishna. Like that is the also another understanding. So here Lord Chaitanya, who is none other than Srimati Radharani, in the mood of Srimati Radharani, Jagannath is coming and he is pulling, and that is the time he is reciting all these verses. So that is the connection that is happening in between the Rath Yatra now. So we'll read through the verses. We may not understand everything, even I don't understand. It's only pure devotees of the Lord who understand. But nonetheless, whatever Srila Prabhupada has told us, that much at least we'll try to understand. Okay, I'll share my screen now. Okay. Devotees, you can raise your hands. Radhika Mataji, 13:133. Radhika Mataji. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
so sorry, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Say Baba, say Baba Vase Prabhupade Ara Shloka, say Sabha Slokera Arta, Nai Buje Loka. Hare Krishna, translation by Srila Prabhupada Jai. In that ecstatic mood, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited many other verses, but people in general could not understand their meaning.
That is what we were discussing now, that he was in the mood of Srimati Radharani, and by seeing Krishna in that majestic form, he is reciting many verses. These verses they were always discussing, Lord Chaitanya and Swarup Damodar Goswami. So these verses, the common people, they could not understand. It was only Swarup Damodar Goswami who could actually understand, because he is none other than Lalita Sakhi. Mataji, Shobha Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam Mataji, Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
13.134. Swarupa Goshani Jane Naka hai Artha Dhara Shri Rupa Gosani Kaila se Artha Prachara. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The meaning of those verses was known to Swarupa Damodara Goswami, but he did not reveal it. However, Sri Rupa Goswami had broadcast the meanings.
So what has happened
Hare
is,
Krishna,
this exact situation will happen later pages, but it will not be told immediately. But what is happening is, Mahaprabhu in ecstasy is narrating, Swarup Damodar Goswami is understanding, and otherwise also when Mahaprabhu and Swarup Damodar Goswami are there and reading through the verses, sometimes Mahaprabhu will be in particular mood, and accordingly Swarup Damodar Goswami would recite. But still, Swarup Damodar Goswami did not reveal to others the mood of Lord Chaitanya. But later in one of the incidents, Rupa Goswami understands this, and what is the mood of Lord Chaitanya when he is reciting this particular verse, that he reveals it, and that is known to everybody later. That is what has been mentioned. Lalita Mataji, next one.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah.
Rupa Sangiyara Artha Kare Ashwadana Nritya Madhye Se Shloka Karena Pathana. Translation by Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. While dancing, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to recite the following verse, which he tasted in the association of Swarupa Damodara Goswami. Hare Krishna.
Sudha Mataji,
Hare Krishna Mataji.
you can
Dandat
read
Pranam.
only the translation also.
Okay Mataji. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The gopis spoke thus: Dear Lord, whose navel is just like a lotus flower, your lotus feet are the only shelter for those who have fallen into the deep well of material existence. Your feet are worshipped and meditated upon by great mystic yogis and highly learned philosophers. We wish that these lotus feet may also be awakened within our hearts, although we are only ordinary persons engaged in household affairs.
Actually, the gopis, out of humility, are mentioning that they are ordinary persons, but they were the people who were just direct bhakti yogis, because they were not interested in karma, jnana, or dhyana, and they were not interested in going back to Godhead. They were not interested. They were just, their objective is just to please the Supreme Lord. They were only 100%, 200%, all time, 24/7, only interested, meditating on the lotus feet. There was nothing that for them, it was like a conscious effort to remember Lord Krishna's lotus feet. For them, lotus feet, remembering lotus feet was quite very natural. And for them, forgetting the lotus feet was an effort. If it is for us the other way around, for them, forgetting the lotus feet of Lord Krishna for a moment even was a very tedious job. So only they pray to Lord Brahma that why the eyelids are there on the eyes, because we have to blink, and in that fraction of a second, we missed the beautiful face of Shama Sundara. So that was their level of mood, that was their mood, and they are telling that we are ordinary persons engaged in household affairs. We wish to focus on your lotus feet. That is their humility that they are telling. So here Prabhupada says that they prefer to take the lotus feet of Krishna. Every act of theirs is simply to please Krishna. If they have to, that is the story of when Narad Muni comes to Vraja and tells that not before Vraja, he goes to different places telling that Lord Krishna has a headache, and the solution for that headache is the dust of his devotees' feet. So he goes and asks, and everybody is like, they have that awe and reverence towards the Lord Krishna, and they're like, no, how can we give the dust of our feet to Krishna and he will apply it on his head? Then we will go to hell forever. No, that's not possible. That is not possible. And then when he arrives to Vrindavan, the gopis, when they got to know that, oh, Krishna has a little headache and they have to give the dust, they immediately gathered all the dust. See, they gathered all the dust and gives, and they said, for life after life, if we go to hell because of this, we don't care. We want the headache of Lord Krishna to go, even if it is for a moment. So that is their level, that is their mood. So for that, anything they'll tolerate. That was their consciousness. And when Krishna, so only even the gopis and even every living entity of Vrindavana were so much conscious about Krishna's well-being that it is told that so the dust of Vrindavan, what we see, is so fine talcum powder. It is that kind of fineness in any sand we do not find anywhere else other than Vrajabhumi. It is told that because Krishna was very clear. See, there was a deep loving exchange between Krishna and his devotees. Krishna said that if I have to wear shoes, then all my cows also should wear shoes. So that was practically not possible. So finally, he did not wear shoes because the cows cannot wear shoes. So all of them were barefoot. And when they were going barefoot, it pricked the heart of the Brajvasis, it pricked the heart of the gopis, pricked the heart of the cows. That small grain of a little big pebble may hurt the legs of Lord Krishna. So they made it to very fine powder. So every act of theirs was to please Krishna. They did not care for their entire existence. So such pure Krishna consciousness can arise only in Vrindavan, like that Prabhupada says. So now began to explain his own mind. Now Lord Chaitanya is explaining his mind. Sumati Mataji. Translation you can read.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Done.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Speaking in the mood of Srimati Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, for most people, the mind and heart are one,
But because my mind is never separated from Vrindavana, I consider my mind and Vrindavana to be one. My mind is already Vrindavana, and since you like Vrindavana, will you please place your lotus feet there? I would deem that your full mercy. Hare Krishna.
So Radharani is telling like this. She's always in Vrindavana. She cannot move out of Vrindavana. So she's like, can you please come to Vrindavan? So here Prabhupada says in the purport that the mind always thinks, feels, and willing. Thinking, feeling, willing are the activities, and we all have the mind always accepts and rejects. I want this, I don't want this. Hankering and lamentation. This pendulum just keeps going. Past, present, and future, hankering and lamenting. I lost it. Oh, I want it. I lost it. I want it. I lost. We are never happy. We are not in the present moment. Even if we are in the present moment for a prolonged period of time, we are not in the present moment. Always when we are in the present moment, unfortunately, we will be either thinking about the future or about the past. Only by conscious understanding, we try to pull it and keep it in the present moment. So here what it is telling, Srimati Radharani's mind is, or mood is, that it is always fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna. It is always fixed. This was the mood of Radharani and the gopis and the cowherd boys and the cows. Everybody, their only consciousness was at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. So Prabhupada says is, as soon as one fixes mind, Krishna in his mind becomes identical with Vrindavana. In other words, when one's mind is completely free from material desires and is engaged in the Supreme Lord's service, then one lives in Vrindavana. What Prabhupada says is, we don't have to physically live in Vrindavan all the time. Wherever we are, if we are engaged consciously, constantly in devotional service of Krishna in one way or the other, or when we are always chanting Krishna's name, or we are doing all our activities with Krishna as a center, or always conscious about Krishna, then it is like our existence is in Vrindavana. It is non-different from Vrindavan. That is what Prabhupada says in the purpose. We'll go ahead. And Nirmala Mataji, 138.
Krishna Mataji.
You can read the verse.
Prananatha Sunamura Satya Nivedana Praja Amara Sadana Tahan Tomara Sankama Na Pailena Na He Jivana. Translation Prabhupada ki jai. My dear Lord, kindly hear my true submission. My home is Vrindavana and I wish your association there. But if I do not get it, then it will be very difficult for me to keep my life. Hare Krishna Mataji.
So that was the depth of their love for Lord Krishna, that they cannot live without Krishna. We are very comfortable without Krishna, but they just cannot live without Krishna. So Prabhupada says that only when our mind is free from designation, only when we leave the concept of I and mine, that is the time we can truly be Krishna conscious. Otherwise, Krishna consciousness unfortunately can be only remain as a side activity for us. So if a person is to be free from material things, his mind cannot be vacant. There must be some subject matters. Unless see, what happens is we are always absorbed in certain something or the other, something mundane. Either it could be gossip or it could be something mundane, very things. Oh, I want to go there, then I want to buy that, and then that had something. But if we are absorbed in Krishna consciousness, see, mind space is there. The space of the mind has to be filled. Mind cannot remain vacant. It is always thinking, feeling, and willing. So if it just needs one subject matter, that subject matter, whichever subject matter is provided to the mind puts it in its brain. That is how the mind gets occupied. So whichever subject matter we give, accordingly on that subject matter, it thinks, feels, and so I want to buy that, I want to go there, and when I go there, when I buy, this is the kind of thoughts, if we put that, it will be. So the gopis of Vrindavan or Srimati Radharani, or ideal behavior of a devotee who wants to progress in devotional service, the consciously we should put Krishna conscious activities, Krishna consciousness into our mind. Shastras or mantras or some lectures or some lessons or something consciously, if we feed the mind, then mind will dwell on that, because the mind inherently is in the mode of goodness. Mind is in the mode of goodness. It is not passionate. It is intelligence that is passionate. So mind on its own does not go anywhere. But because we have tuned it time immemorial, consciously, constantly on to dwell on other subjects, it very conveniently all the time goes to some subject and sits there, and we start thinking on that subject. So now for us, it is a little effort to put Krishna always into the mind, because that is our conditioning. It is against our conditioning. But when we constantly do it, consciously do it, sincerely, when we do it, Krishna is pleased and he will also help us. And because the mind is in the mode of goodness, it's just the question of time that most of the time we will remain Krishna conscious. So without Krishna, one cannot live. Just a person cannot live without some enjoyment for his mind. So that is the stage and situation of the gopis of Vrindavan. Translation you can read. Krishnamurti Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Translation by A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. My dear Krishna, formerly when you were staying in Mathura, you sent Uddhava to teach me speculative knowledge and mystic yoga. Now you yourself are speaking the same thing, but my mind does not accept it. There is no place in my mind for Jnana Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. Although you know me very well, you are still instructing me in Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga. It is not right for you to do so. Shall I read purport, Mataji?
No, 1 minute. So what happens is, we know the past time where Krishna did not go back to Vrindavan for a long time, and then he sends Uddhava. Uddhava has can exactly replicate the mood of Lord Krishna. His looks are also like Lord Krishna. He is the immediate cousin of Lord Krishna. So with all this, he thought that he will give the logic and the jnana, the knowledge of Krishna, how Krishna is in the heart, how Krishna understands everything, like this. So all these details. So Uddhava went to Vrindavana, and when he goes there, he sees the situation of the gopis, and he is like, this is what is why do we what is the purpose of having knowledge about Krishna? Knowledge of Krishna should end up in conscious about Krishna all the time. That is the goal of Jnana Yoga, should finally culminate in Bhakti Yoga. The purpose of Jnana Yoga to not be as Jnana Yogis, but to culminate in Bhakti Yoga. That is, we understand through Jnana that what is spirit soul, what is the supreme personality of Godhead, what is our relationship with them, what are we supposed to achieve. So that is the understanding which we get. And Bhakti Yoga culminates in action, in actually mind, through our mind, body, and words, to be always acting in that consciousness. That is to always render devotional service. So that, thereby to always remember and be conscious of Krishna. So that is the goal of Jnana Yoga. And here Srimati Radharani is telling that you want me to understand you, but that is not what we want. Now previously Uddhava did it, and now you are doing. So these are the some of the verses which Lord Chaitanya is repeating. So here Prabhupada says that instead of cultivating speculative knowledge or practicing mystic yoga, devotees should worship. So here one interesting thing Prabhupada says is, if we say that we are now worshipping the deity in the temple, or having a picture, or having small deities at home, and consciously serving the deities, when we are serving the deities consciously and constantly, it is like associating with the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord is non-different from his Archa Vigraha. That is what Prabhupada is telling in the purport. So when we are engaging our mind and body in the service of the Supreme by worshipping the Archa Vigraha, it cleanses the mind, it purifies the heart. By purification and by cleansing of the heart, because then our mind naturally and automatically always thinks about Krishna. Now it is not possible because there is so much of dirt in the heart, so much of dirt in the head. And by worshipping the Supreme Lord in the form of Archa Vigraha, so Prabhupada says here, the deity is known as Archa Vigraha, an incarnation of the Lord. They may be made of wood, stone, or brass. There is no difference between Krishna and Krishna who is in his Archa Vigraha form. So there is no distinction between matter and spirit. His manifestation in material form is as good as a Sachidananda Vigraha form. So a devotee constantly engaged in deity worship according to rules and regulation must be, and given by the spiritual master, realizes gradually that he is in direct contact with the Supreme Lord. Thus, he loses all interest in yoga practice and mental speculation. So that the same effect, the same feeling, the same one, that being in direct touch with the Supreme Lord comes by consciously worshipping the Archa Vigraha form, because the Archa Vigraha form is non-different from the Supreme Lord. That is Prabhupada is telling by this. Mohandas Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Translation.
Translation Mataji. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, I would like to withdraw my consciousness from you and engage it in material activities, but even though I try, I cannot do so. I am naturally inclined to you only. Your instructions for me to meditate on you are therefore simply ludicrous. In this way, you are killing me. It is not very good for you to think of me as a candidate for your instructions. Hare
Oh,
Krishna.
Radharani is very clear that I don't want your instructions, your this, that, and I know all that. I'm not interested in any of that, any of the yogi form. I am always interested only in directly, always engaging, not engaging anyway in any form, in any other material activities, only consciously, constantly, only in meditating on your lotus feet. Simply by giving all this logic, you are killing me, because for us it is how it is. Naturally, for us, consciousness is not there. We have to force ourselves. For Srimati Radharani, it is impossible to draw her consciousness away from Krishna. So Prabhupada says this, Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadya Anavratam Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam Bhakti Uttama. For a pure devotee, there is no scope for indulgence in mystic yoga or cultivation of speculative philosophy. Impossible for a pure devotee to engage his mind in any unwanted activities. Even in now also, for pure devotees, naturally and automatically, all the time, they are simply engaged, simply blissful in engaging in devotional service 24/7. It is, we can also see some great devotees when they come to temple, and we see their way they speak, the way they are there. It is very clear that how they are completely Krishna consciousness in all the way, in all their how and all the way they are speaking, doing things. So that is very Srila Prabhupada for that matter. Srila Prabhupada, all his activities which he did, he was there for the way he was propagating the Krishna conscious movement, and how he dedicated himself in that elder age. It is very clear that how pure devotee, they have one point attention of just pleasing and serving the Supreme Lord, and they do not have any other attention. So they are kind of imbibing the mood of Srimati Radharani and the gopis of Vrindavan. So going further, still the gopis are telling. Now Kishori Mataji, translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The gopis are not like the mystic yogis. They will never be satisfied simply by meditating on your lotus feet and imitating the so-called yogis. Teaching the gopis about meditation is another kind of duplicity. When they are instructed to undergo mystic yoga practice, they are not at all satisfied. On the contrary, they become more and more angry with you. Hare Krishna Mataji,
Gopis, if we tell anything to the gopis that is against their serving for Krishna, they are not happy. They get agitated. They get angry. Angry means transcendental. Everything is transcendental. Everything is transcendental, not like our anger, like that. So Prabhupada says that for a pure devotee who has realized Krishna consciousness, the monastic philosophy by which one can become one with the Supreme Lord is considered very hellish. The mind the yoga practice by which mind is controlled, senses are subjugated, also appears ludicrous to a pure devotee. Devotee's mind and senses are already engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. In this way, the poisonous effects of sensory activity. So, when a devotee is always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord, naturally and automatically the poisonous effects of sensory activities are removed. So that is that time it is not possible to think, feel, or act materially. It is not possible. That is what Prabhupada says. Mm, but the fruitive workers, they are attempt to attain heavenly plans. So the uh, the material benefits which otherwise fruitive activities which we derive by executing, or the desire for material gain, the desire for heavenly planets, or desire for name from anything, that appears simply ludicrous. That appears simply ludicrous. That is like cannot be considered only, because the bliss of is so high that everything else just disappears like the like smoke. Nothing. It just doesn't appear. Doesn't have its existence at all. So after all, the heavenly plants are material, and due course of time they'll be dissolved. Devotees do not care for such temporary things. They engage in the transcendental devotional activities. Where they can live they desire only for spiritual world where they can live eternally and peacefully with full knowledge of Krishna. And when now and the gopis, covered boys, and even cows, trees, water are fully conscious of Krishna. They are never satisfied with anything but Krishna. So that is the consciousness of Vrindavan, and even a pure devotee, by practicing the process of Krishna consciousness, can still attain that consciousness of Vrindavan. 142. Who wants to read? Shobha Mataji. Devotees, please raise your hands.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah.
Translation, right?
Yes.
Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued. The gopis have fallen into the great ocean of separation and are being devoured by the Timingala fish of their ambition to serve you. The gopis are to be delivered from the mouth of these Timingala fish, for they are pure devotees. Since they have no material conception of life, why should they aspire for liberation? The gopis do not want that liberation desired by yogis and jnanis, for they are already liberated from the ocean of material existence. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Mataji, Hari Bol.
So Prabhupada says that the bodily conception is created by desire for material enjoyment. So we know that when we are born only, we have everybody is naturally and automatically in one particular have a particular modes. There is the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance in various degrees are affected. Means each individual is affected in various degrees. Everybody has the mixture of all three modes of material nature, and that happens because our desires, the karma, the thoughts we had in our previous previous life. So whatever desire, faith, understanding we carry and we leave our body, that kind of thing only manifests in our next life. So this body is created based on our desires, desires that we wanted to exploit or enjoy the material nature. So accordingly, a body is given to us. So only we have hog body, human body, all other kinds of bodies are there, because that is a kind of consciousness and desires we have, and to fulfill that, we get a particular material body. So Prabhupada says this is called Vipada Smriti, which is the opposite of real life. The living entity is eternal servant of Krishna, but when desires to enjoy material world, he cannot progress in spiritual world life. That is, perpetually we end up in this cycle of birth and death through different species for a very, 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 very long time, almost forever. If we are always only desires or conscious about enjoying the material world, one can never be happy by advancing materially, because we all have experienced in small ways or big ways that how much of frustration is there when we are expectations are there in this material world, through people or through things, through ways by which we want if the more we want controllership on this material nature, the more we are perpetually frustrated. We all have experience in small or big ways, but the only problem is, although we have been experiencing this always and throughout, the idea to give it up is very, very difficult. We are just hanging on that thoughts, and because of that, we are being pushed, and we are being unhappy throughout. So this is stated in the Bhagavatam. Andhanta gobir vishantav tameshram punha punascharvita charvananam. Though through the uncontrolled senses, one may advance one's hellish condition. He may continue to chew the chewed. That is repeated accept of birth and death. Conditions those use duration of life and birth and death only to engage in some hackneyed activities. That is unfortunately from different, when we are going through different species of life or only in human species of life, the time we are born to time we are dead, we are so much consciously and constantly engaged in material activities that that is between, that is eating, sleeping, mating and defeating, between all this. So we are unfortunately, even in the human form of life also, we are engaging those activities only. But if we see the animal world, they are perfectly doing these four activities at least. We are neither doing perfectly these activities and nor doing the activities which is specifically meant for human form of life. So unfortunately, we are more lower than the animal species in that sense, because animal species, they are very smart in these four activities. They are perfect, and there is no flaw in these four activities. For us, we are neither good at that nor trying to do something focusing on the purpose of human form of life. So since these activities are repeated, engaging in them is like chewing it has been already chewed. If one gives up the ambition to engage in material life and take Krishna consciousness inside, he'll be liberated from the stringent laws of material nature. That's all we have to do. We just need to remove our consciousness from the material engagements, put it to Krishna consciousness, and that time we are completely liberated. And we can also in this lifetime attain the mood and the activities of Vrindavan. So as Srila Bilvamanga Thakula says, Mukti Swayam Mukti Tanjali Sevate Swan. Liberation stands before me with folded hands begging to serve me. When we draw our consciousness away from material engagement and put it to Krishna. Sudha Mataji, 143.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. It is amazing that you have forgotten the land of Vrindavana. And how is it that you have forgotten your father, mother and friends? How have you forgotten Govardhana Hill, the bank of the Yamuna and the forest where you enjoyed the Rasa Leela dance? Thank you,
So
Mataji.
the Srimati Radharani and the gopis are reminding Krishna about his activities and his place in Vrindavan, because now the mood is in Kurukshetra. He is surrounded by all the horses and the chariots and the big soldiers and queens, kings, everybody. That is a royal look. Yeah, they are reminding him about the bliss and the quietness and the natural beauty of Vrindavana, where they had so much of fun and so much of loving exchange. So they are reminding him that how did you forget the Govardhan Hill, the Yamuna, and like that example they are giving, and they are telling that how did you ever forget Vrindavana, because and you are come here and you are not coming back. That is their mood. The next one, Mataji. Mohandas Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Krishna, you are certainly a refined gentleman with all good qualities. You are well behaved, soft-hearted and merciful. I know that there is not even a tinge of fault to be found in you. Yet your mind does not even remember the inhabitants of Vrindavana. This is only my misfortune and nothing else.
It's so beautiful it is, because this way they're telling like that. The next they are telling that we know you are very good, just that you don't remember us. Everything else is all perfect only. Just that you do not remember us only. You do not remember us. Do not remember your dear Vrindavan. Like that the gopis tell. Next one. Sindhu Krishnamurti Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah.
Translation by A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Prabhupada ki Jai. I do not care for my personal unhappiness, but when I see the morose face of Mother Yashoda, and the hearts of all the inhabitants of Vrindavana breaking because of you. I wonder whether you want to kill them all, or do you want to enliven them by coming here? Why are you simply keeping them alive in the state of suffering? Hare Krishna Mataji.
These are the beautiful questions because they are reminding the Krishna of Yashoda, Nanda, and the gopis and the different inhabitants of Vrindavana. And at least anything you remember, please come back to Vrindavana. Like that, they're trying to tell. Sindhu Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah.
Text 13.146.
Mm.
Sloka? No need sloka.
Translation, because they are bit speak below.
Okay, Mataji. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The inhabitants of Vrindavan do not want you dressed like a prince, nor do they want you to associate with great warriors in a different country. They cannot leave the land of Vrindavana, and without your presence, they are all dying. What is their condition to be?
Okay, we'll go
Hare
ahead.
Krishna.
Those who finish, put your hands down. Huh? Again, you can raise so that I'll know in the line. Kavita Mataji.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear Krishna, you are the life and soul of Vrindavana Dhamma. You are especially the life of Nanda Maharaj. You are the only opulence in the land of Vrindavana, and you are very merciful. Please come and let all the residents of Vrindavana live. Kindly keep your lotus feet again in Vrindavana.
You read the purport also.
Purport. Srimati Radharani did not express her personal unhappiness at being separated from Krishna. She wanted to evoke Krishna's feelings for the condition of all the others in Vrindavan Dhamma. Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, the cowherd boys, the gopis, the birds and bees on the banks of the Yamuna, the water of Yamuna, the trees, the forest, and all the other paraphernalia associated with Krishna before he left Vrindavana for Mathura. These feelings of Srimati Radharani were manifested by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore he invited Lord Jagannatha, Krishna to return to Vrindavana. This is the purport of the Ratha Yatra. Mataji, I cannot see from there.
You don't see?
This is the purport of the Ratha Yatra's car going from Jagannatha Puri to Gundicha temple.
So
Thank
as
you,
we
Mataji.
discussed before in the beginning of the class, that is a thought, that is also an understanding that when Lord moves from Sri Mandir to Gundicha temple, it is like the gopis pulling Lord Krishna from Kurukshetra to Vrindavana because they had met him in Kurukshetra. So now one important thing here we should note is, see, if they are so selfless, unfortunately, the main feature of this material world is enviness. Main feature of this material world is self-centeredness. We may act selfless, but my share I have, then the remaining share, okay, I'll give you also. But giving away my own share, giving away my happiness, giving away my position, if we can do that, then there is no difference between material world and spiritual world, because we know the goal of the gopis is to please Krishna, and if that means that he wants association of Srimati Radharani, they are ready to do anything so that he gets association of Srimati Radharani. And same is the mode of Srimati Radharani. She associates with Lord Krishna simply because Krishna wants her association, that gives him more happiness. But if he gets more happiness by being with other gopi, she's ready, because the whole idea of all entire Vrajbhumi, that includes the cows, calves, covered boys, Srimati Radharani, everyone, is to simply always please Krishna. And sometimes so the fight also happens, because by that fighting mood, that enhances their love, and that way Krishna is more happy. If fighting makes him more happy, then we will fight. If anger makes him more happy, we'll be angry. If by submissiveness he's happy, then we will be submissive. So only the different devotees of Vrindavan exhibit the different moods, because those moods Krishna wants them to exhibit, and that is the way they can please Krishna. So we have Satyabhama's mood. No, Satyabhama, they may be Dwarkavasis, but otherwise we have Lalita's mood is different, Vishaka's mood is different, Srimati Radharani's mood is different. Because idea is simply to please Krishna, always to please Krishna. That is the reason of that is the mood of the queens of Dwarka also. So Satyabhama is in a one way and Rukmini is more submissive. For us, it looks like that, but that is what Krishna wants from them. Kavita Mataji, 148.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. After hearing Srimati Radharani's statements, Lord Krishna's love for the inhabitants of Vrindavana was evoked, and his body and mind became very much perturbed. After hearing of their love for him, he immediately thought himself to be always indebted to the residents of Vrindavana. Then Krishna began to pacify Srimati Radharani as follows.
So this is the
Thank you,
dialogue
Mataji.
exchange between Krishna and Srimati Radharani. And now, overwhelmed by the love of Radharani and by hearing the situation of the Vraja Vasis in remembrance of Krishna, Krishna speaks as follows. Now, Kishori Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dearest Srimati Radharani, please hear me. I am speaking the truth. I cry day and night simply upon remembering all you inhabitants of Vrindavana. No one knows how unhappy this makes me. Hare Krishna Mataji. Should I read purport? Okay, Mataji. It is said Vrindavanam
Parityajya Vrindavanam Parityajya Padam Ekam Na Gacchati. What happened? In one sense,
I'll read, Mataji. Shall I read?
Who is that now?
Sindhu Mataji.
Yes, can.
Purport. It is said Vrindavanam Parityagya Padam Ekam Nagachati. In one sense, Krishna, the original personality of Godhead, Ishvaraha Paramakrishnaha Sachidananda Vigraha, does not even take one step away from Vrindavana. However, in order to take care of various duties, Krishna had to leave Vrindavana. He had to go to Mathura to kill Kamsa, and then he was taken by his father to Dwaraka, where he was busy with state affairs and disturbances created by demons. Krishna was away from Vrindavana, and he was not at all happy, as he plainly disclosed to Srimati Radharani. She is the dearmost life and soul of Sri Krishna, and he expressed his mind to her as follows.
So we all know that how Krishna, when he was 11 years old, sent by Kamsa, Akrura comes and Krishna Balram go, and while going they tell that we'll come back soon, and then they go to Mathura, then he'll fight with Kamsa, and Kamsa he kills Kamsa, and then he goes back with Devaki and Vasudeva, and then he starts to take care of the state affairs of Mathura, and that many demons one by one they keep coming, and he had to protect then that time he has to manage the kingdom, means he has to manage the Ugrasena was the king, but he was managing. So that way in administration he was lost in Mathura. Then later Dwaraka also comes into existence like that. So here, but it is told that the Krishna who left Vrindavana is Vasudeva Krishna. Now those tattvas, if we try to understand by our logic, we cannot understand. So we'll just hear and purify ourselves that the Krishna who went to Mathura is Vasudeva Krishna, but original Vrindavan Krishna never goes out of Vrindavan. He can never go out of Vrindavan because his existence is with Vrindavan. His existence is with the Vrindavan Vasis. So that is told that Krishna had to, so apparently it seems, so does not even take a step away. However, in order to take care of his duties, Krishna had to leave Vrindavana. So sometimes Prabodhananda Saraswati also says that it was like two Krishnas like that. Here Prabhupada says that out of obligation, Krishna had to leave. Like that he says. Nonetheless, we should understand that even Krishna always wants to be with Vrajavasis. That is the essence which we can understand from this. Padma Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Krishna continued, all the inhabitants of Vrindavana Dhama, my mother, father, cowherd boyfriends, and everything else are like my life and soul. And among all the inhabitants of Vrindavana, the gopis are my very life and soul. And among the gopis, you, Srimati Radharani, are the chief. Therefore, you are the very life of my life. Thank you, Mataji.
One second. 1 minute. Wait, 1 second. Oh, I'm sorry, extremely sorry. No one is in the house. Somebody came and he was banging on the door. Yeah, you read the purport. Padma, no?
I'll read again. I'll
Yeah.
read again the translation or the purport.
Purport. I think that
Okay.
will be the last one. No
Okay.
worries.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimati Radharani is the center of all the Vrindavana's activities. In Vrindavana, Krishna is the instrument of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, all the inhabitants of Vrindavana still chant Jai Radhe. From Krishna's own statement given herein, it appears that Radharani is the queen of Vrindavana and that Krishna is simply her decoration. Krishna is known as Madan Mohana, the enchanter of Cupid. But Srimati Radharani is the enchanter of Krishna. Consequently, Srimati Radharani is called Madana Mohana Mohini, the enchanter of Cupid.
Yeah. So we know that how Krishna, Madana is Cupid. He wanted to distract Krishna, and Krishna distracted him only. He shot the enchanter of Cupid, like that on pastime is there. But Radharani, Srimati Lord Krishna is covered over by the he loses himself in front of the love of Srimati Radharani. So Srimati Radharani is called Madana Mohana Mohini, the enchanter of Cupid, because Krishna enchants Cupid himself. By seeing the beauty of Krishna, Madana falls unconscious. Otherwise, Madana, by his beauty, he enchants everybody, but by seeing beauty of Krishna, he falls unconscious. And Krishna, he gets enchanted by the beauty and the devotion of Srimati Radharani. So with this, we close here. Grantraj Srimad Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhakta Vranda ki jai.
Jai.
So we are ending the meeting.
Haribol, thank you, Mataji.
Haribol.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Last
shloka number. Last shloka number, Mataji.
135.
150.
150.
Okay.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank
Hare
you so much
Krishna.
for the wonderful
Pranam.
Thank
session.
you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Dandavad.
Dandavat Pranam.
Request all the devotees to join again on Wednesday. This time it was my little bit mistake that I did not put the message on time. But yes, it is every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So without fail, we can all join on time on next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Thank you, Mataji. Thank
Okay,
you, Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa
Kripa
sindhubhyo
sindhubhyo
paritanam
paritanam
pavanebhyo
pavanebhyo
vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Namo Namah.
Ananta koti vaishnavindaki